This episode of Bullet Heaven was made with a copy of the game provided by Super Rare Games. It's time again to dive into another shooting game hybrid, and this time it's a bullet-hell twin sticker wrapped into an adventure-style game with Metroidvania elements. If that sounds like it'd be up your alley, this one could be the game for you. Itta was developed by Revolver and published by Armor Games Studio on April 22, 2020 for the Nintendo Switch and Windows PC. A physical version for Nintendo Switch was also published by Super Rare Games on January 7, 2021. This is a game that marries some vastly different but interesting conventions, and it seems to do so rather well. So, let's take a closer look. You play the role of the titular Itta, waking up from a dreamlike state to find her mother missing and the rest of her family dead before her. Coming face to face with a guardian spirit who takes on the form of her lost cat, she obtains a revolver constituted of ethereal power and sets off into a crumbling world full of danger and mystery. As a twin-stick shooting game at its core, Itta controls as anyone might expect of such a title, with movement handled by way of the left analog stick and aiming with the right. However, Itta's weapon will only fire when the ZR trigger is pulled. In Itta, our heroine will find herself exploring 3 decently sized areas filled with hidden secrets and challenging bosses. The main objective is to hunt down and defeat at least 10 of them in order to progress to the end of the game. However, more than 10 will certainly be required to make it to the final encounter. Each area needs 3 bosses to be defeated in order to take on the area boss, and all 3 area bosses must be dealt with to open the chamber where the final encounter occurs. As players progress through their adventure, a number of new weapons can be found to assist Itta in progressing through her adventure. These weapons are derelict, though, and can't be used until they are brought to a weaponsmith. Once they are fixed up and enhanced with ethereal energy, they can then be used, which should allow for more efficient boss kills. They also allow for additional areas to be opened up and explored. Bombs, for example, can be used to bust open weak walls. The shotgun can destroy damaged pillars. The flamethrower can light certain torches. This adds a Metroidvania light twist to the whole experience, which we appreciate. The game flow is rather interesting in this regard. For the most part, there are no hazards that will damage Itta as she makes her way through the final objective, with only very rare exception. In fact, there is only one creature type that can even be shot in the exploration phase, for lack of a better term, I guess, and they will drop health pickups to recover Itta's health. The player's health gauge is also rather neat. While only limited health grades are available, Itta can boost her health to double the core amount. So if Itta has gotten her health upgraded to 5 hearts, it can be boosted to 10 by picking up recovery items or snuggling with a sheep or robot terminal. Paired with upgrades found throughout the game, some hidden, others not, this boosted heart count will absolutely assist in the game's real threats, the bosses that lurk in various chambers throughout each area. Once again, each area in the game has several bosses to encounter and fight, complete with an area boss that is required to be defeated before taking on the final encounter. While 3 small bosses from the area in which the players are in must be defeated before the area boss can even be reached, the choice of which bosses are taken on rests entirely with the player. Some are definitely more difficult than others, with the area bosses serving up a considerably higher challenge. There are going to be a lot of fast, intense, dense bullet salvos launched at the player during pretty much any boss encounter, but pressing the ZL trigger will make Itta roll, allowing her to dodge any attack without sustaining damage. Granted, players could well fling themselves into another attack, or the boss themselves, if they are not careful, and getting hit is often not as clearly indicated as we would have liked. But knowing how to roll out of the way of any attack will be the key to victory against any boss, final counter included. Of course, different, more powerful weapons, extra health, and a handful of special abilities can be discovered and obtained, which definitely add a helping hand to players that might be struggling. Once unlocked, Itta's special abilities will automatically activate when she successfully dodges enough attacks, which can turn the tides of battle in a pinch. A gauge under Itta's life represents how close the player is to activation. Not only will Itta's fire become more powerful, she will also be invincible for a brief period of time. But in cases where players need an even bigger hand getting through their objectives, damage multipliers and invincibility can also be toggled on in the options if needed. Of course, there doesn't seem to be any real penalty for dying insofar as we can tell. A number of additional scenes will occur with a higher death count, but the end result seems to be more or less the same. And that's the game, more or less. There's a huge emphasis on exploration to collect all of the weapons, upgrades, and secrets between boss fights, with survival being the primary objective here. There is no scoring system at all. Itta is a purely story-based game, and it works really well in this regard, but maybe not in terms of replayability. Because while Itta is a game that respects the player's time, it's also on the very short side of things. It won't take long at all to power through Itta. But with just one ending, regardless of how the player handles the rest of the game, and no achievements as are found in the Steam release, Itta's short length is compounded with the fact that there isn't a ton to go back to here, outside of maybe a speedrunning session or something. However, regardless of its short length, we still really enjoyed our time with Itta. Itta has a familiar pixel art style that is often employed in modern retro-styled games. It doesn't set out to look like an NES or Super NES game though, as the pixel count is much higher than that of an 8, 16, or even 32-bit title. But while the graphical presentation is familiar, the world in which Itta will traverse has a fantastic style to it all, with excellent design implemented into its characters, bosses, environments, and effects. Some bosses are more impressive than others, like this insanely creepy floating specter, complete with a shadow worthy of being a portal to the void. The sound maybe isn't as strong though. While the soundtrack is very good, a lot of the effects in the game leave a bit to be desired. On the overworld, subtle indicators will sound when something important needs attention, when paths are opened or secrets have been found. Other sounds, like when Itta sustains damage, often go unnoticed though. It's actually very difficult to hear whether Itta has taken a blow, which can be frustrating in the heat of an intense battle. The story in Itta is a major focal point though, and players who enjoy unraveling mysteries or learning of a game world's past will surely enjoy interacting with all of the many characters Itta will encounter. Once again, with only one ending, there isn't a ton of replay to be had here, but for the time players will spend with it, Itta is sure to leave a good impression. Along the way, players will also find a number of cat statues that players can interact with to change the form of their guardian spirit. All kinds of different cats can be collected, all of which can be found in a specific area as they are obtained. Finding them all will definitely take time, but it's at least one way that players might squeeze a bit more playtime out of Itta on Switch. A lack of even in-game achievements that would mirror those on Steam further hurts its staying power. Rounding out the presentation is a very simple menu system that is nigh impossible to get confused by. So, how does Itta stack up? Let's take a look. Itta controls well enough for the kind of game that it is, but it is very easy for players to fling themselves into harm's way when using the roll. All of the boss fights in Itta have the potential to kill the player off quickly. However, it is also possible to upgrade health and obtain useful weapons quickly, and repeat deaths ultimately don't affect the story. Players can also overpower themselves and coast through with invincibility as well. Itta can be a short game even on the player's first go. There are, however, plenty of secrets to uncover, and lots of casts to collect. Itta has a strong high-resolution pixel art style that sometimes literally oozes with personality and artistic flair. This style is starting to feel a bit overused though. While the music is good, the sound effects can be a bit iffy at times, and it's often very hard to hear when Itta actually gets hit. Dedicated twin stickers, adventure games, and Metroidvanias all do things better than Itta does on their own merits, but put together, Itta works well. It's not exactly mind-blowing, but it's still a decent amount of fun. At about $15 US, Itta has a lowish cost that ends up feeling okay for the experience that it offers, but with a lack of achievements like those found in the Steam release, its overall value suffers on the Switch. In the end, while we really liked what Itta had to offer, we felt that there wasn't really enough to it. It's a very, very short game given the genres it melds together, so maybe having enemies between bosses might have made things a bit more challenging. Still, as kind of a loose boss rush with a bunch of exploration between each fight, Itta more or less succeeds. We just wish there was more to it. Itta gets a 3.5 out of 5. You can get a copy of Itta on the Nintendo Switch or on Steam for about $15 US. If you'd like to see what else is on tap at Super Rare Games, be sure to check out their site from the link in the description. It's on to the first Dreamcast shooting game of 2021, with Retrosumus' Xenocider in episode 294. See you all in the next episode.